Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to the video series on Windows Server 2016. Requesting a cert from MMC. Our new certificate template has been created and we have successfully published it within the CA console, thereby making it officially ready for issuing. Time to test that out. Go ahead and log into a regular client computer on your network in order to do this. There are a couple of standard ways which you can utilize in order to request a new certificate on a client computer. The first is by using the good old MMC console. On your client computer, launch MMC and add the snap in for certificates. When you choose certificates from the list of available snap-ins and click on the add button, you are presented with some additional options for which certificates store you want to open. You get to choose between opening certificates for the user account, service account, or computer account. Since we are trying to issue a certificate that will be used by the computer itself, I want to choose computer account from this list and click on finish. On the next page, click on the finish button again in order to choose the default option, which is local computer. This will snap in the local machine's computer-based certificate store inside MMC tip. On the newer operating systems like Windows 8 and 10 and also Windows Server 2012, 2012 or 2 and 2016, there is an MSC shortcut for opening directly into the local computer's certificate store. Simply type cert tlm.msc into a run prompt and MMC will automatically launch and create this snap-in for you. When you are installing certificates onto a computer or server, this is generally place you want to visit. Inside this certificate store, the specific location that we want to install our certificate into is the personal folder. This is true whether you would be installing a machine certificate like we are doing here, or if you were installing an SSL certificate onto a web server. The local computer's personal certificate folder is the correct location for both kinds of certificates. If you click on personal, you can see that we do not currently have anything listed in there. To request a new certificate from our CA server, we simply right-click on the personal folder and then navigate to all tasks, request new certificate. Doing so opens a wizard. Go ahead and click on the next button. Now you have a screen which looks like something needs to be done, but in most cases, because we are requesting a certificate on one of our corporate domain joined machines, we actually do not need to do anything on the screen presented in the following screenshot. Simply click on next again on this page and the wizard will then query Active Directory in order to show all of the certificate templates that are available to be issued. The request certificates screen is showing which is our list of templates that are available to us. This list is dynamic based on what computer you are logged into and what your user account permissions are. Remember, when we set up the security tab of our new certificate template, it is there that we defined who and what could pull down new certificates based off that template. And if I had defined a more particular group, that domain computers, it is possible that my new direct access machine template would not be displayed in the list. But since I did open up that template to be issuable to any computer within our domain, I can see it here. Tip: If you do not see your new template on the list, click on the checkbox for show all templates. This will give you a full list of the templates on the CA server and a description on each one as to the reason that it is currently unavailable for publishing. Put a check mark next to any certificate that you want and click on enroll. Now the console spins for a few seconds while the CA server processes your request and issues a new certificate that is specific to your computer and the criteria that we placed inside the certificate template. Once finished, you can see that our brand new machine certificate is now inside personal certificates in the MMC. If you double click on the certificate, you can check over its properties to ensure all of the settings you wanted to be published into this cert exist. Requesting a cert from the web interface. I typically use the MMC for requesting certificates whenever possible, but there is another platform available in most cases from which you can request and issue certificates. I say in most cases because the existence of this option depends upon how the CA server was built in the first place. When I installed my ADCS role, I made sure to choose the options for both Certification Authority and Certification Authority Web Enrollment. This second option is important for our next section of text. Without the web enrollment piece of the role, we would not have a web interface running on our CA server, and this part would not be available to us. If your CA server does not have the web enrollment turned on, you can revisit the role installation page in the server manager and add it to the existing role. Once Certification Authority Web Enrollment is installed on your server, there is now a website running on that server which you can access via a browser from inside your network. Having this website is useful if you have the need for users to be able to issue their own certificates for some reason. It will be quite a bit easier to give them documentation or train them on the process of requesting a certificate from a website, rather than expecting them to navigate the MMC console. Additionally, if you are trying to request certificates from computers that are not within the same network as the CA server, using MMC can be difficult. For example, if you have the need for a user at home to be able to request a new certificate without a full VPN tunnel, the MMC console is more than likely not going to be able to connect to the CA server in order to pull down that certificate. But since we have this certificate enrollment website running, you could externally publish this website like you do with any other website in your network using a reverse proxy or firewall in order to keep that traffic safe and presents users with the ability to hit this site and request certificates from wherever they are. To access this website, let's use our regular client computer again. This time, instead of opening MMC, I will simply launch Internet Explorer or any other browser and log into the website running at HTTPS case server CERTSRV. For my specific environment, the exact address is HTTPS CA1 cert SRV. Tip. An important to note is that our URL starts with HTTPS. This website must be configured to run on HTTPS instead of regular HTTP in order to allow the website to request certificates. It does not allow issuance of certificates over HTTP because that information would be traveling in clear text to the client. Enabling the website on the CA server for HTTPS ensures that the certificate issued will be encrypted while it travels. Clicking on the request a certificate link brings you into our wizard, in which case we can request a new certificate from the CA server. When you have users driving their own way through this web interface, it is typically for the purpose of a user-based certificate. Since we have some pretty easy ways of automatically distributing computer-level certificates without any user interaction, we will discuss that in a moment. However, for this example, since we are asking our users to log in here and request a new certificate, on the next page, I will choose that link. Tip: if you are not interested in a user certificate or wanted to use the web interface to request a machine certificate, a web server certificate, or any other kind of certificate, you could instead choose the link for advanced certificate request and follow the prompts to do so. Next, you simply press the submit button, and once the certificate has been generated, you will see a link that allows you to install this certificate. Click on that link and the new certificate that was just created for you has now been installed onto your computer. You can see in the following screenshot the response that the website gave me, indicating a successful installation. And you can also see I have opened up the current user certificates inside MMC in order to see and validate that the certificate really exists. Creating an auto-enrollment policy. Our certification authority server is configured and running, and we can successfully issue certificates to the client machines. Great. Now let's pretend we have a new project on our plates, and one of the requirements for this project is that all of the computers in your network need to have a copy of this new machine certificate that we have created. That sounds like a lot of work, even though the process for requesting one of these certificates is very quick. Only a handful of seconds on each workstation. If you had to do that individually on a couple of thousand machines, you are talking about a serious amount of time needing to be spent on this process, and in many cases the certificates that you issue will only be valid for 1 year. Does this mean I am facing an extreme amount of administrative work every single year to reissue certificates as they expire? Certainly not. Let's figure out how to utilize group policy in order to create a GPO that will auto-enroll our new certificates to all of the machines in the network. And while we are in there, also configure it so that when certificate expiration date comes up, the certificates will auto renew at their appropriate intervals. Let's pop into the certification authority management console on our CA server and take a look inside the issued certificates folder. I only want to look here a minute in order to see how many certificates we have issued so far in our network. Looks like just a handful of them. So hopefully once we are done configuring our policy, if we have done it right and it takes effect automatically, we should see more certificates start showing up in the list. Log into a domain controller server and open up Group Policy Management Console. I have created a new GPO called Enable Certificate Auto Enrollment, and I'm now editing that GPO to find the settings I need to configure in order to make this GPO do its work. The settings inside this GPO that we want to configure are located at Computer, Configuration Policies, Windows Settings, Security Settings, Public Key Policies, Certificate and Services Client, Auto Enrollment. Double click on this setting in order to view its properties. All we need to do is change configuration model to enabled and make sure to check that the box that says renew expired certificates, update pending certificates, and removed revoked certificates. Also check the second box for update certificates that use certificate templates. These settings will ensure that auto renewal happens when the certificates start running into their expiration dates over the next few years. What is the last thing we need to do on our GPO in order to make it live? Create a link so that it starts applying for your own environment. You will probably create a more specific link to a particular OU, like we have talked about in the last chapter. But for my lab, I want these certificates to apply to every single machine that is joined to the domain. So I will link my new GPO at the root of the domain so that it applies to all my clients and servers. Now that the GPO is created and configured and we have linked it to the domain, I would think that some new certificates would be issued and there would be more names shown inside my issued certificates folder inside my certification authority console. But there are not. Wait a minute. In our GPO, we didn't really specify anything particular to my direct access machine cert template. Could that be the problem? No, there wasn't really an option for specifying which template I wanted to auto enroll. When you turn on auto enrollment and group policy, you simply flip the switch and turn it on for every template. So now that we have a policy that is configured to enable auto enrollment and is linked to the domain, thus making it live. Auto enrollment has now been enabled on every certificate template that is published on our CA server, yet none of them are issuing themselves to my computers. This is because we need to adjust the security settings on our new direct access machine template. Currently, we have it configured so that all domain computers have role permissions. But if you remember that security tab within the cert template properties, there was an additional security identifier called auto enroll. Every certificate template has the auto enrollment permission identifier and it is not allowed by default. Now that the light switch has been flipped on for auto enrollment in our domain, we need to enable the auto enroll permission on any template that we want to start distributing itself. As soon as we enable that permission, these certificates will start flowing around our network. If you head into the certificate management section of your CA server and properties of your new template, make your way to the security tab and allow auto enroll permissions for the domain computers group. This should tell the CA to start distributing these certificates accordingly. And sure enough, if I let my environment sit for a little while, giving Active Directory and group policy a chance to update on all my machines, I now see more certificates have been issued from my CA server. Okay, so I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you.